Hey, I'm Holly Richardson, and I'm joined in studio today by Dave Colley, KSL investigative reporter and podcast host extraordinaire. So if you have not listened to Cold, listen to that. If you haven't listened to the Uno Triangle, that was the one that gripped me. It's like, oh my goodness. All right.
That's a beautiful plug. Thank you, Holly.
Well, it's sincere. Have you ever used AI in any of your investigative stuff? Not that you'll admit.
Well, so here's the funny thing. I for a lot of my life was a very early adopter on technology, and the AI wave, I will admit, I did not catch it, and I have some serious concerns about it in my line of work.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting. Yeah.
I
can
think
imagine
it's
a
fascinating
mistake, right?
technology, but also like
AI hallucination and
going?
investigations. Yeah.
Misinformation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, Jeff Bezos decided he was not going to miss out on the AI party, and so he has started a new company. It's called Prometheus AI, and he already has $6.2 billion in funding, and it's supposed to be focused on using AI in manufacturing computers, automobiles, and spacecrafts. So just a different take on AI
I'm getting
use.
2001 Space Odyssey
Right?
vibes, right? Like the AI will make the computer that will strand our astronauts in space.
That's right. So we actually have on the line with us Brandon Amaker. He's the Director of Emerging Tech Policy and the Instructor of National Security, I think at UVU. Is that right, Brandon?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. So thanks for joining us, first of all. So tell us, why do you think Bezos is getting into this place? And is there room for another AI startup?
It's a really good question, and I think if you look at this, and a large part of this funding, $6.5 billion or $6.2 billion, not a small amount by any means, but I think it's interesting to see that Amazon did put up a large amount of that money, and I think the particular focus of this startup is interesting. As what we've seen so far, a lot of kind of these really heavily funded AI entities have been kind of generalist focused, meaning, hey, we're trying to create artificial general intelligence. We're trying to create these large language models which have very, very broad applicability. So it's interesting to see that this is a very heavily funded, very heavily backed Silicon Valley-based startup that is focused on specifically manufacturing space and kind of advanced, mechanical applications. So it is interesting. Is there space for this? I think there's some speculation about whether or not AI is a bubble right now, but it does show some maturity in the market to see startups being less generalist and more kind of specifically focused.
Brandon, I'm thinking about just kind of the disruptive nature of AI in a lot of industries. I just mentioned my own, right? In journalism, it's having a pretty profound impact. And I'm wondering if, some people in the engineering sector, if you are somebody who designs spacecraft, you might think, well, I'm so specialized, AI is not going to, come and challenge my job. And yet this, to me, would be potentially saying, don't get too comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who are wise about AI, in my personal opinion, should view it as something that is additive, not, something that's going to replace human ingenuity. I think your hesitancy to implement AI in journalism is very well founded. I think it can be a useful tool, but if you use it to replace kind of some of these key critical components, for example, in spacecraft, I would not feel comfortable having an AI engine do the final safety check on a vehicle that I'm strapping myself to that's going to shoot me into space. But if it can be used to automate some of the lower level tasks for the engineer so that the human engineers actually have more time to spend on those critical tasks that we really want a human in the loop on, then great. That actually could increase the amount of human attention to detail that we get if they're not worried so much about some of this day-to-day, very replicable stuff that takes up a lot of their time. So it's something that I think could be really good if it's well implemented, but also does have a lot of potential hazards and is potentially very disruptive.
So Jeff Bezos stepped down as the chief executive of Amazon in 2021, and this seems to be a new foray. Do you have thoughts on why he might be doing this right now? Is it just because he can see where the market's going and he wants to play a part of it, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to speak to his, whatever his personal situation or motivations may be, but at the very least, it does seem to be a massive vote of confidence behind this idea and this entity, that they really think that this could be something that could seize this massive, massive market for industrial AI, essentially. And I think he is probably also aware of the PR aspect of throwing his name behind it in an operational role, that it was going to generate headlines. That's going to, in turn, one, pull in a lot of interest from investors, potential customers, and also really kind of build confidence in something that, hey, this is a startup, sure, but hey, it's not a normal startup because you've got Jeff Bezos behind it in an operational role, and you've got $6.5 billion of funding, which once again, highly unusual for a startup.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to like Henry Ford innovating with like production assembly line stuff, right? And we don't know today, obviously, where this startup will go, but you can certainly see that if you're somebody in Bezos's shoes, there is potential there with all the resources at your command to revolutionize in ways that we can't even think about, the way automobiles, airplanes, spaceships, all that stuff is made in the future. That makes a heck of a lot of sense why he would want to be in that game.
Absolutely. And I think, the manufacturing market, if you could even increase efficiency in that by, 2%, that is billions and billions and billions of dollars of, value that you're adding to the economy. So the total addressable market is absolutely massive if it can actually deliver on what it's promising to do.
So as an instructor of national security, what is your view of this type of AI on the impacts of potentially for national security?
It's a great question. And I think my approach to this type of thing is that technological progress is always something where functionality usually gets placed before people thinking about policy or security. Typically, when you see massive innovations, it's being driven by the tech industry in a way that's focused on, hey, we're going to develop this new functionality and think about all the good it will do. And then after it kind of gets out into the world, then the security people come along and they say, hey, we haven't really thought about this, or hey, this problem is arising. Now we need to create more policies that will kind of hem this in. And I think that pattern is pretty universal across different technological adaptations. And we're already starting to see that with different applications of AI, like the hallucination, some of this weird emotional attachment that people are starting to develop to these models. And now, retroactively, we're having to go through and say, okay, well, how do we fix this? How do we make sure that this doesn't happen or that this doesn't get worse? Similarly, with this type of thing, it's going to be touching some very, very sensitive areas. Aerospace, manufacturing, all very critical to national security. And so I would hope that, using that $6.2 billion of funding, they'll have a very robust security team that will try to get out in front of some of the potential security issues or, implications of, if we become very reliant on this technology for advanced manufacturing, does it create a single point of failure? Does it create an entryway for, foreign nation states or malicious actors to gain a ton of intelligence on our critical sectors very quickly? So I think security would have to be a very, very forward-leaning area for this type of an organization.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. That was Brandon Amaker, Director of Emerging Tech Policy and Instructor of National Security at UVU. When